You're listening to Cash and Sass. I'm Lisa Marie, your go-to gal for all things money. As the Sassy Wealth Queen and the brains behind the Sassy Wealth Coach, I'm here to take you on a thrilling ride from the financial chaos to sassy and sexy money. Hey, my sassy friend, it's Lisa Marie here, the Sassy Wealth Queen, and I am with someone I've been waiting on to be on my show for a while, and it's finally happening. My guest today is Alok Appadurai. I said that right? Yay! Alok is a founder of Uplift Millions. He's the first carbon neutral business and leadership coaching company in the world. He is a 2-time Wall Street Journal best-selling author, was featured in Forbes with Tony Robbins, and was named top 10 conscious leaders by the USA Today. Alok is also a loving partner to Caitlin, the best dad to Sequoia. I'll agree with that. And he loves Ben & Jerry's ice cream. Yum. And he is also my coach. And one of the things that drew me to you, Alok, I was just telling you before we started, was that I started following you, I guess, about a year and a half ago before we even started talking. And one of the things that drew me into you was your story and bits and pieces of it. And so what I would like to do is just start with the tenacity and the grit and where you started and where you're at now and how that played in.
Well, first of all, it's such a joy to be here with you. I want everyone to know how much I absolutely love, adore, admire, respect, and honor this powerful woman that you are tuning in with. And I invite you to tune in with her at a more deep level and really start tracking what this woman stands for. She is an incredible leader, an incredible mother, and a woman with a big vision to transform the world for the better, which is something I absolutely tip my hat to. So thank you for who you be in my life. It's a joy and it's an honor to witness you continue to step into your power. And I want to thank you for having me today. Grit and tenacity, old lady. Wow, here we are. Let's just take the gloves off, roll up our sleeves. You know, I think the piece that she's beginning to touch on, you know, for me, I've been in impact-led business, growing these companies for 25 years. And then in 2016, the wheels just fell off. And, you know, you'll find your grit and tenacity. If it's in you, you'll find it. If you didn't find it earlier, you'll find it when the universe just literally says, okay, we're going to rip everything. And when I say everything, I lived in a 1-room studio, no car, could barely put food on the table for my son. And I was like, God, what happened? What memo did I miss? And we can get into sort of money mindset stuff and whatever questions you want to say. But the grit and the tenacity is simply this. People ask me, Alok, what's your secret sauce? And I say 2 things. 1, I just keep going. I just keep going. You know, you fall down, you stumble. I have fallen down. I've lost everything more than once in pursuit of this radical, ridiculous commitment to changing the world for the better. And I just say to people, you just keep going. Don't quit. When you quit is when it's over. Mm-hmm. For me, I quit when I'm in the grave, right? Like we just keep going. And the second lesson I learned through all of it was to ask for help, right? To actually have the tenacity to say, I don't have to go it alone. I can begin to get reflections from other people. So the grit and the tenacity, we can really dig in all day around this. But
I think grit's important because you have to really dig down deep into what you want and that those goals and whether you're able to settle. But what I also love about what you said is that learning to ask for help. So many people, including me, and I used to think it a lot. I've come a long, long way, a long way. But we used to think it was weak to ask for help. We used to think that meant there was something wrong. And especially with women, we have this thing that if we ask for help, then that means we're not able to do it, which in reality, and that's what I want you to touch on, how was that a shift in the mindset for you towards money mindset as well, but also realizing that asking for help wasn't a weakness, but it was actually a strong point. It was actually a powerful thing.
at my lowest point, right? And we're talking, the kind of what people call coming to G's or whatever you want to call it, whatever your bottom of the barrel, your low point moment. I'm like, God, what did I miss? Like what? And by the way, everybody, whatever your spiritual tradition is, universe, source, whatever you want to call, what memo? I work 60, 70-hour weeks. I put all my money on the line to pursue my dreams, to make an impact. I've got my heart in the right place. What am I missing? And Source eventually just revealed, Alok, all these leaders over here, they surround themselves with other people and they ask for advice and they get reflections and input and coaching and mentorship, and they don't go by themselves. That actually to ask for help is a sign of strength and it's a sign of creative connection, right? It's like, I don't need to just have my brain. What happens if I listen to Lisa Marie? What if happens if I listen to Steve Hardison? What if happens if I listen to this person? Right? It doesn't mean we just take on everything they say, but honestly, it's the universe trying to give us a shortcut. And I'm sitting there, no, I've got to do it the hard way. I've got to take the longest, slowest, dumbest, most expensive way. No. Don't send me a lifeboat. I'm going to swim to shore by myself. Why? Right? And so honestly, it took me finally going, oh, that's the secret, right? And then from money mindset, because I lost everything, totally broke, not 2 nickels to rub together. I was like, and God, what memos did I miss about money? Right? And it just began asking some questions, right?
What kind of questions did you ask?
Oh my God. I started being like, how did I lose everything? Where am I still living in scarcity? Where do I believe in lack? Where am I judging money? Here is the big one. Here, want to know a big aha? This rocked my world. And I want everyone to hear this. And I didn't get this until I was about 40. Okay. That means 20 years, 2 decades in entrepreneurship before I got this, that there is a difference between studying entrepreneurship and studying money.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally, I wish someone would have said, oh, look, there's 2 different fields here. You can study, marketing and sales, and you can study how to build a team and systems and operations and leadership. You can study all those things. And then there is the world of money. And if I'd heard this 10 years ago, literally the words that come out of my face right now, I'd be like, what's that guy talking about? That guy's smoking some crack rock, But literally I started going, well, what did I miss? So I started reading all these texts like The Science of Getting Rich, written 100 years ago. And literally I said, God, you show me a path out of this money hole that I'm in, I will never go back. And so God started sending me all these books like Science of Getting Rich, Happy Pocket Full of Money. And I just started reading all of these being like, I clearly missed something along the way. And here's what I said. I said, I will do every change in these books. I won't question.
And you didn't go and do them all at one time, though. I think that's really important for the listeners to remember, because I just bought the Happy Pocket Full of Money book. Yeah. And let me tell you, okay, I've done some money mindset work. That book is phenomenal. Like it's making more shifts for me than I've already made. And I've made a lot. And I'm all about the grit and tenacity because like you, there were times I didn't know how I was going to put food on the table. I didn't know if I was going to be able to pay a bill. Like I didn't have 2 pennies to rub together. When I started my business, there was nothing. Car repossessed, there was nothing. And
that's right.
Pure grit and the tenacity is what moving forward, and then learning to ask for help. And that was honestly, that was the shifting point and I've gotten a lot better at it, but you didn't run and go and do all the things. What was one of the first things you did?
So, I began to challenge my old thinking. Right. And so like, here's a good one. Rich people are jerks that treat people badly. Right. And we can go even further. People could say rich people are the reason the world is screwed up.
Oh, I thought
right?
they were like evil.
Evil, right? And so that was a very normal way of thinking in the world of people that
Mhm.
I grew up with,
Mhm.
right? And then at the same time, the very same time, you'll hear those same people going, I wonder why I'm not having more money come towards me,
Right.
right? Or how about this one? Money is the root of all evil. Well, if that program is installed,
Mhm.
then that's going to be true in my life, right?
Right.
And then I'm never going to be able to create a business exchange with someone who has money because I'm sitting there judging them as the root of everything broken in the world. Do you think my business is going to grow? And then, especially when people say to me, Alok, I don't care about money. I just care about making impact and touching lives. And I'm like, you're broke. You can't even touch your child's life right now for the better. Right.
Mhm.
So I began one by one. You're totally right. I want everyone to hear this. I began like literally taking the first little fruit off the tree. Okay. I'm going to shift my relationship to greed, envy, and jealousy. Right.
And that's hard.
Uh,
That's not
Hard.
something easy, especially when you didn't come from money, and even if you had it and then lost it all, or if you're starting from nothing, that's hard. How did
Let me
you
give
start
everyone an
doing that?
example. Let me give everyone an example of this. There was a woman who I had a call with who was ahead of me, quote unquote, in her coaching business, right? She'd already crossed $1 million. And I'll just be honest with the listeners. I judged this woman. She annoyed me. The sound of her voice bothered me, but yet I would watch all of her Facebook lives, right? And then I would judge her. I want everyone to hear this. I would judge her, right? Why is she getting all this? She doesn't, right? Like, listen to all this crappy thinking that I was creating inside myself.
Mhm.
It wasn't hurting her life. It was hurting my life to be in that energy about her. And then I got shared this distinction, this shift in thinking. And someone said to me, Alok, can you celebrate what's happening for other people as evidence in your life, in your field about what's possible for you? And I was like, what? That's why these people are in my life, to be evidence of what could happen for me. And instead, I'm sitting there insulting them, pushing them away, judging them. Why? Because I actually wanted to experience what she was actually experiencing. I had jealousy and envy in my body, which are repellent forces for money. It will literally tell money to not come towards you when you're envious of the creations that are occurring for someone else. So I'll tell you, it was hard until it wasn't hard. And in that moment, I was like, oh, you mean I'm pushing money away by judging her for her success? Oh, I'm done doing that right now. And so guess what? I went and wrote her a message. She didn't know all this backstory and I didn't tell her all the backstory. All I did was I said, I want to let you know, I am so celebrating everything that's happening for you. And guess what began to happen in my life? Boom, we went right to 7 figures. Boom, right there. So it's when you begin to be open to going, you know what? The old ways that I've thought about money didn't work. You
Mhm.
know? Like it's as simple as that, everybody. Is it working? Is the way that you're thinking getting you the results that you want? If the answer is no, I welcome you to put all of your ways of thinking about money on the chopping block.
And embody the new way of thinking, because that's the other part of it, is embodying the money mindset. Because one of the things that I remember a coach that I followed before I realized money mindset goes to money stories, and those are from our childhood. Is she's like, money's she said, do you hate money? And I said, no, I don't hate money. And she said, really? She said, when you pay a bill, do you say thank you? And my reaction was, why in the hell would I say thank you? And she goes, so you don't hate money? And I was like, oh.
Right.
And it was just a light bulb of, she said, why wouldn't you say thank you? The money was there so you could pay a bill. And I was like, she said, would you stick around if someone talked negatively about you and hated you and didn't want anything to do with you and, thought you were evil? I was like, no. She said, well, then why would money?
How about this one as a reframe?
Damn.
Well, big drop right there, right? How about this one? If I say to people, what about the belief that money's the root of all good? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, how about the hospital that you went to? Money was flowing through there that provided the electricity and the doctors and the nurses and all the equipment. What about the schools? What about the dental offices? Right? What about all the ways in which good is created in the world? Money is involved. Love is involved first, and money fuels the expression of the love.
Money is energy. Money is energy.
Money is energy. How about I believe money is the root of all good.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
I offer that to anybody. It's fully available. You don't need any sophisticated brain power to begin to kind of look around and look for evidence of money being the root of all good that occurs in the world. Oh, who would I be if I believed that? Oh, maybe I'd invite you into being the greatest wealth circulator that you could ever be through ideas that create more good into the world. Oh, yes. Shoot. What would that look like? Right? If we begin to chisel away at these old belief systems about this thing called money. It's like, how about being thankful? Here's another great one. Is what if I invite the listeners, every listener, I invite you right now to already celebrate in your body, like with cheers, like the 4th of July, the biggest tax bill you could ever imagine.
Oh, I can't wait for mine.
That's right. Right? And people go, oh, look, are you crazy? And I go, guess what an enormous tax bill means? It means you had an enormous result in your business, which for my type of people means you likely made a greater contribution into humanity than you've ever made in your life. The tax bill, you get to say, thank you. Mm-hmm. Oh my God. And of course you can do what you want to, reduce a tax bill. I'm not
absolutely.
Right?
I mean, perfect example to that is, my taxes were, my new tax advisor went and amended my 2021 and 22 taxes. And the person who did 2021 didn't include some kind of thing for employees for South Carolina. I'm getting, for both years from state and federal, I'm getting almost a little over $4,000 back, unexpected. Right. And
that's right.
I was happy to pay what I paid. But let me tell you, getting the $4,000 and the $4,000 I'm getting back did not make my net revenue on my Schedule C for my business go down any lower, because I told her if it did, we weren't doing it, because I needed it up because I'm wanting to buy a house. And it didn't. It was after the fact, because it had to do with the health insurance, because they didn't include my health insurance as self-employed. And they should have. So right. I'm getting $4,000 back of unexpected money. And I'm like, okay, thank you.
That's right. And that thank you energy, right? Mm-hmm. Like the universe hears that and goes, oh, Lisa Marie, so appreciative of this coming her way. Let's send her some more, right? So it's like recognizing what blocks the flow. Like I never knew this stuff, right? What blocks the flow of money and what unblocks the flow of money, right? I never would have thought, here's one, is I say to everybody listening, go write a love letter to money. A love letter. Like write as if you were writing to your best friend, and a letter of appreciation and gratitude. I had never done that before. You know how great it felt? It felt beautiful. And when you do this, you're literally saying to the universe, right? Hey, thank you so much. I welcome you to come again. I welcome you to bring your friends. Thank you for being here. Stay as long as you want, right? Mm-hmm. It's like we can actually build a loving connection to this taboo thing called money. And then you get to have people like Lisa Marie in your world who can help you make actual decisions that create an actual expression of a loving relationship of money flowing in, to, through, and around you, right?
Tell the listeners, and this is something I try to drive home to my listeners and the clients, is that the money mindset and that embodiment of it is not something we do just once. It's something we work on consistently, like
every day.
Right.
every day. Every day it is a daily work in progress. It is a daily recommitment. Like one of the ideas, right? When I told you that, I said, God, you give me any books, I will do everything that's in the book. Even if I don't like what's in there, I'm doing it, right? Because I got nothing to lose back then, right? I had nothing, literally nothing to lose except a 2-seater love seat, one bookshelf, and a coffee table and a mattress. Okay. Like there was nothing left to lose. So I'm like, lay it on me thick. So one of the ideas was this. I would say this was the hardest for me to make a shift around, or it challenged my identity the most, which was this. In one of the books, it said, if you want to increase the flow of money, energy, stop talking about poverty. Stop talking about violence. Stop talking about injustice. Stop talking about gender violence. Stop talking about, and I'm like, this is my whole life. It's all I talk about is everything that's not right, all the injustice, all of the problems.
And that's why you said what you said to me at Transcendence. I now understand. I now get it. It only took, 6 months?
But thank God it only took 6 months. It took me 20 years. Right?
So you're right. It's like, if we're talking about it constantly,
what will be our life?
And at the same time, it's part of us. It's all we know. So how do you shift that then?
Great. So I'm just going to tell you exactly what the book told me and exactly what I basically puked in my mouth around. My stomach was just churning, right? So the book first says, Alok, I literally going to tell you as if the book was written to me, right? Alok, right now, you need to stop talking about fucking poverty. You need to stop talking about brokenness. You need to stop talking about economic injustice. You need to stop talking about all these things that you've spent the last 20 years. I built my entire major in college around all these ideas. Here's everything that's broken. The government's doing this. Women are getting screwed like this. Black people are getting screwed like this. Indigenous people getting screwed like this. The environment's getting burned down. Right? And by the way, I want the listeners to know, I very rarely will say those 7 sentences that I just said out loud, but I'm doing it because I want you to hear this. That was my old state of being. And that's who I surrounded myself with. That was my community. Guess what? They're all broke. Can you get that? And the book literally said, if you insist upon having these conversations, do not be surprised when you look around and realize that you are broke and that you are not able to create the solution. You are only now part of the problem, and you think it's a badge of honor. So here's the answer to your question. The book literally went on. I'm just going to say what the book said. If you want to end poverty or reduce poverty, or if you want to end injustice or any of these things, you need to talk about abundance. The only thing that will reduce those things is abundance. Put all of your energy and focus into being about abundance. And by the way, this is challenging everything inside me because that would mean talking about money, focusing on money, being a creator of money. Oh my God, but money is evil, right? Money is the root of the problem. Then I'm going to turn into one of those people. I don't want to be one of those people that my friends and my family members judge, right? So literally the shift right in that moment was, I'm done talking about those things. I'm going to talk about creating. I'm going to talk about abundance. I'm going to talk about empowering women to earn more money. That is the solution. Oh, right. I'm going to pour all of my energy, my focus. So, for example, I'll be very transparent here. In the retreat in Whistler that just happened, on the elite day, there was 5 of us in a room, and it got heated at times because they started talking about governments and corporations. And I'm like, I know all of this to be true. Okay. There's ample evidence of everything you're saying. But I said, you're cutting off the portals of possibility of what those media companies could do to amplify your message out into the world and become the light in the darkness. So I say to people, actually, the shift can be really easy. It's uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. It could be uncomfortable until it's not, until you realize holy shit, I can either complain about the problem
Or I can do something
or I
about
can be
it.
part of the solution, but I can't be both at the same time. Once that landed for me, Lisa Marie, it was like, okay, message received. I don't need to hear that message again, right? It's like, it's uncomfortable, but I've spent the last 20 years being part of the problem. I'm done with that. It ain't changing anything. It's only making me more bitter about the world, more bitter about the power structures that be, more bitter. And you think bitterness is a magnet for money?
No.
No.
All it did was keep you on the hamster wheel.
Boom. Boom. I hope you all heard what you just said.
And at the same time, you're wondering why you're not one of the ones not on the why you're one of the ones that's not allowed off the hamster wheel when it's you keeping you on the hamster wheel.
You keeping you on the hamster wheel. And so I want to invite,
because I'm keeping me on the hamster wheel. I mean, I'm not on it, and at the same time, I was keeping me on the hamster wheel, and now but there's a mic drop moment in that you can't be part of the solution and complain at the same time, which is what you were talking about in Transcendence when you said what you said to me. Message received.
You know what I'm saying? And that's the beautiful thing, right? Seed was planted over here. And I want for all your clients, for everyone listening, she's going to plant seeds in your mind. You're on your own timeline are maybe going to get it, right? But here's the other thing I want everyone listening to hear. So that first piece was going, oh my God, I've been part of the problem for the last 20 years. Right. I'm going to move all my energy to being part of the solution. I'm going to talk about abundance and creation and all these things. That's the first step. The second step, and this was really uncomfortable, I had to look around and audit who I was spending my time with. And then I realized, oh my God, I can't make this change if I continue to insist upon surrounding myself with people who only want to talk about the problem. This was uncomfortable, really uncomfortable. I had to proactively reduce exposure to 90% of my orbit. That was really uncomfortable. And I had to make a conscious decision that I would actively put myself into communities of beings who are thinking in this new way. It's not to ignore the problems in the world. It's to pour our energy towards the solutions. But if we don't clear the field a little bit, right, for new growth, then we're just going to continue to go, why am I still broke? Why am I lugging along this community of people who are unwilling to let go of these old ideas and move their energy? And I was like, if I don't do that, I won't be able to provide for my son. Forget changing the world.
Right.
Right. Really uncomfortable, but life-changing.
Yeah. Very much so. How has your money mindset shifted to where you to who you be now, and how you, and I say this because maybe I'm biased, but how you help so many people see who they are and who they be and what's possible?
This is going to start with a more spiritual answer first. So a big, huge shift in me, and it's again super uncomfortable because I had to look myself in the face, was to really realize how judgmental a human I have been in my lifetime. Judging right, wrong, good, bad, all these things. And the more that I shed that piece, and it still happens. I'm not like some, Buddha sitting on somewhere, never, I have my moments,
You're
but
human.
I'm human, and I have more awareness of this now. And so one of the pieces that emerged for me spiritually was to begin to say, all beings I meet are divine reflections of God, deserving of my love, never my judgment. And by beginning to not see other people as different or other or less than, and as equally a divine expression, and this is my tradition, anybody can think whatever they want, But now it began to have me see people with more love, right? And so if I can believe that about myself and I can believe that about Lisa Marie, I now understand that God, in my tradition, in my conversations with God, source, universe, whatever you want to call it, I was shown that nobody was destined to be poor. Nobody was born to be poor. This is a money mindset shift that everyone has the technology, the same technology that I have, that Lisa Marie has. If I can begin to look and go, you're a divine expression of God and you have been destined for abundance. I don't believe anybody was not destined for abundance. And you're deserving of all of the positive love and energy in the world that's always flowing. I can take a stand for that and see that for Lisa Marie. I can see that for her because I can see it for myself, right? And then I can also see how Lisa Marie shows up in the world. I can see her commitment, her grit, her tenacity, her coachability, her openness, right? So there's a lot of other pieces there that to answer the follow-up question you asked, right? And how do I see it in other people? Well, I see what's true about you. I see what's possible for you, even if you don't always see it, because I'm seeing your level of commitment, right? So for me, it's recognizing that nobody is more special than anybody else to receive the bounty that is possible. And that you have a technology, which is called the brain. Mm-hmm. You have the mind, and the mind. I want everyone to hear this. There is no one who has a mind that's more able than you to ask really powerful questions that could change your life. That's not a cliche. That is a fact. You have a creative brain. Everything, hear this, everybody. Everything that's ever been created, everything, all outcomes, any company you could think of, any apple that you bought at the grocery store, it all came out of an idea that someone had in their mind. Once we understand that that is the factory for wealth, that is the factory for money, is your mind, your creative ability to come up with an idea. Once you realize that you didn't get skipped in line, like you weren't on the conveyor belt and God was like, yep, don't put a brain in that person.
Yeah. A lot of us think that, okay, we didn't come from money, so that means God didn't want us to have money. And what you're saying, that's not true. I was born in a single mom home, and there was, and it's what I've switched how I talk about it, and I tell people you don't have to come from wealth. You can create it. You can create it and retain it and expand it yourself. You don't have to come from it in order to have it. And that's what you're talking about.
Let's play here. This is so good, right? So she could look at the evidence and say, I came from a single mom household. This was my thing.
It did for a long time. That's exactly how I felt and believed what I believed.
That's right. And this is what God had destined for me, right? No better and possibly worse, right? Like she could. Lisa Marie, I want everyone to hear this. Lisa Marie could. She has evidence in the field that could support that thinking. And I want everyone to know you will get the evidence you want for the thinking that you have. Or I want everyone to hear this. Or the universe was like, we're going to orchestrate Lisa Marie's exact journey, so that she is the woman on this podcast right now who's learned everything that she's learned through that exact orchestration, so that she can be the woman who's having immensely powerful conversations with women about their relationships to money. See, I go with option 2. I'll go with option 2. Right? So, but that's my point. I want all the listeners to hear. Lisa Marie could have option 1. This happened to me. Oh my God, I'm a victim to this circumstance. This is the best that it's ever going to be. Nothing better is going to happen. I'm not one of those people that gets to experience something better.
And those are words I actually have said out loud verbatim.
That's right.
Verbatim.
And I want everyone to hear, she used to literally say those words out loud. And by the way, when you say those words out loud, guess what you do? You absolutely welcome in that reality, right? You are speaking. People say spelling is casting spells. Words cast spells, right? So I want everyone to hear, Lisa Marie could choose to continue to say those words out loud, or she go, wait a second, is that even true? Wait a second. What about if it's is it possible that every part of my journey perfectly created me into this woman who has these stories, these experiences, these knowings, these wisdoms, so that I can empower women today? She can choose. That is a choice. You are not destined to a perspective. You may have been destined to some experiences, but you are not destined to the perspective that you hold about those experiences.
No, it's up to us. It's up to us. It's up to us. Yeah. One last question, and I think this is really important. One of the things I asked you is, what was the hardest part of managing the financial side of entrepreneurship? And you said cash flow management during explosive growth. And the only, what I can imagine, because I remember what it was like for me, and then and then having the up level and what we call the rebirthing, which I've been going through, and the Phoenix rising moments that come after that, which sometimes take a little while to actually finish. How did you hold your money mindset through that?
Oh man, not pretty, not pretty. Okay. See, Lisa Marie knows I'm a straight shooter. Okay. I'm not getting out my little packet of sugar and going to sugarcoat it and make the listener go, oh my God, that guy just like smoothly navigated everything. No, the formula for growth is 3 phases: growth, dip, plateau. Growth, dip, plateau. It's a jagged line for, I don't know, all of us. Okay. I literally do not know anybody who doesn't have this type of progression. Right. And so as the business starts hitting explosive growth and things start going on, managing that cash flow, I just want everyone to hear, when you go through explosive growth, and especially for those of us that are deeply committed to contribution and creating, doing our best to not just have the best life for ourselves, but to say, hey, I want to create some improvement for other beings, right? Well, as cash flow grows, one of the awesome parts of that, and not just, you can go on some fancy vacation and do some awesome stuff, which is great. Like I'm not an aesthetic who says you can't enjoy your life, right? But as cash flow grows, yes, you can go do those awesome things. But what it also does that's exciting is that it opens up your ability to consider new creations for impact, right? Like 6 years ago, I could not have considered putting on our big 3-day live event, which basically costs $250,000, right? Once cash flow began to grow and go through explosive growth, now we can start considering some much bigger creations that, guess what? Put a greater strain on your cash flow than it did before. And you could totally avoid doing it and just go, great, we're making all this money, blah, 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 blah. But I'm not like that. I'm going to reinvest into my next creation, right? Like 2 years ago, it was my book, and I invested over $100,000 into my book creation, right? So like all these things allow you to create bigger creations, but guess what? Your cash flow, woo! Right? So, to answer your question, in all honesty, like I've had to readjust and recalibrate through these new zones of cash flow swings, right? And then maybe for short periods, you have to carry some debt in order to create that big creation, but you've created your way into increased credit lines, which is part of that money mindset, cultivating support and the ability to manage big decisions. And now you have to breathe, right? You have to breathe. You hold on. You acknowledge, I'm making new decisions. And what the big shift is, I don't really look quarter to quarter anymore. I really look year to year, right? Like, how are we doing year to year? And are we good? Right? Okay. Couple months might be a little tighter because of some decisions that are long-term decisions.
Right.
Exhale. Right. Alok, you're supported. You've been supported the whole way. Right. So this is also where we come into, there's two words I want everyone to hear here: trust and faith combined with consistent action.
Mm-hmm.
So through it, as you're hitting these cash flow changes that you've never experienced before because you've never had that level of cash flow occurring, you're now able to start bringing some dreams to life that maybe you never thought could come to life. Okay. Exhale, stay calm through the storm, have trust and faith that you're supported, and then do the doing. Do the doing. Please do not be one of these manifestors who just sits on a lily pad. Okay. I do all the manifestation work. I love that work. I do it religiously, and I combine it with the clear action. So that's how I handle the cash flow.
And you also have to dig into that mindset, that money mindset part of, whether that's journaling, the manifesting, whether that's listening to uplifting stuff to remind you to go into those tools, right? Especially when you have that, all of a sudden you've got this huge thing and now you've got a little slight dip, or you're going through what you call the rebirthing phase. Oh, hello, rebirthing phase. This one was the biggest one I have ever been through, and OMG. and I'm still partially going through an OMG.
and I don't, not that I want to plant the seed into your timeline. I'll say in my journey, likely not the last time I'm going to experience
probably
this.
Not. And it's been the biggest one yet in my journey of my business. And OMG is
That's
like,
right.
because it's I've had to dig into that mindset, those tools. Right. I've had to dig into it. And so I think that's important for the listeners.
And here's I'll give the listeners a piece here. So the hardest, when you're in that, what she's talking about, what I'm talking about, right? We're actually talking about the real, not just the rocket ship and the big, huge record months, the record years and all that stuff. We're talking about the real, where as you're then going for something next level, you get to deal with the next level challenges that emerge, right? Which I always celebrate.
Well, I'm like, I say the universe throws them at you to see how committed you are.
That's correct, right? And I'm like, so here, remember how she said earlier that she said, thank you for paying the bill, right? I say thank you when I experience a next level problem, right? It's like, I couldn't even experience this problem if I hadn't created my way into these circumstances. So here's what I do, right? You asked, how do I handle it? After I move through whatever my, moment. Okay.
I'm glad you have those moments because
oh my God. I call them the pucker, right? I call them the little tush pucker, right? Right? Like, of course I have them. Of course I lose my shit and look at Caitlin but thankfully those moments are shorter than they used to be. Number one.
Yes. Amen.
Number two, I go into this practice, which is I imagine the result wherever the relief is on my timeline, right? Like I'll know, hey, you invested heavily over these 8 months into that thing that's over there. Guess what? You got relief coming on the other side of that. Okay. So that's the first thing. I'll imagine, use that brain, and I'll imagine. Number two, I will feel the feelings, the emotions in my body around that outcome. This is what people from a money mindset struggle to do. They say, but look, the money hasn't arrived. I can't feel the feeling. That will keep you broke. Mm-hmm. So the leap of faith is to feel the emotions of the abundance before the abundance technically is in the bank account.
I like that.
If you can hear what I just said in those last 15 seconds, you're literally getting the secret to the universe. And that is not,
that was a gold. Right. That was a gold nugget. That was a gold nugget.
That is not hyperbole. I am not exaggerating. I could send people 50 reels on manifestation, 90 seconds each, and from all different speakers. And they will all say exactly what I just said. So if the listener wants to shift their money mindset, if you rewind and just hear what I just said and give yourself the space to borrow my belief, because this is what got me through 2016. I had to begin the process first before I had the outcome. But most people wait until they have the outcome in order to go, yeah, that's true. You got to start. You can either think this guy's on crack, or you can go, he lost everything and rebuilt from scratch, and listen to every major secret code from the universe that's been passed down for hundreds and hundreds of years. I'm giving it to you right here. You didn't have to pay anything to listen.
This is free.
Free. But see, if I wish people would have had to pay $10,000 to hear that, because then they'd really pay attention. Because they're like, I paid all this money to hear that. But the problem is, when you hear it for free, some of you will not listen. Some of you will think that was just something that came by my ears because Lisa Marie had that guy onto this podcast. Or you can go, that guy just told me that he handed me one of the most powerful codes about wealth and abundance of all of human history, passed down by all of the greats who understood this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Either get it or not. But I began to go, it only took me losing everything. I will get whatever code you got, I'm accepting finally. That one is it. Feel the emotions of the outcome before the outcome has occurred. If you can do that, watch what happens. Call me in a year. Tell me, Lisa Marie, what happened a year from now, because you listen to that one thing.
Absolutely.
That is not frou-frou. That is not woo-woo. That's not out there. It may feel that way, but you got nothing to lose. Try it.
And I'm going to tell listeners, I'm going to do something. I'm going to actually download this so I have that last part. Because that's a good reminder for what I've been going through too. So before we end, can you please tell the listeners, one, where they can find you, and two, if you have an offer for them? And everybody, this will be in the show notes as well.
Awesome. Yeah, you guys can go to upliftmillions.com. There's a bunch of different ways that we can communicate. You can find me on socials. And I would say the other one is, if you're interested, the easiest bite of our apple. I think we put a free week in there. I'm not sure. If you don't see a free week, you can tell me, but you can go to haven.co. That's HAVN.co. And it is the most accessible price point for us to start moving the needle. We put a really delicious bundle of action going on there. It's an easy yes invitation. If you don't see the free week, just pop me a note, and I'll give people, all your listeners, a free week in there. You can decide if you want to be in. But I'd love to start rolling with folk and beginning their changes. And I want to acknowledge Lisa Marie. If you're not digging into her world more deeply, you missing it. You're missing it. You have a repository of transformation that will change your relationship to money for the rest of your life. She works with multi-million-dollar business owners. She works with business owners that are earlier in their journey than that. But this woman has created herself into an absolute powerhouse. Pay attention to what she's creating in this world.
Thank you. Thank you very much for being a guest. And thank you, my sassy friend, for listening. And I'm telling you, if there's an episode you need to download and play on repeat, even if it's just the last, minute or 2 minutes of the podcast, this is the one to do. And this is the reason why I couldn't wait to have him on my podcast. And I am pretty sure I'm going to have him on again, because I'm going to beg him.
And I will say yes.
Yay. Thank you very much for being here, my sassy friend. And until next time, remember to stay sassy.
Thanks for joining us this week on Cash and Sass. Check us out on social media and on our website at www.thesassywealthcoach.com, where you can download my free Money Story Start Guide. The website again is www.thesassywealthcoach.com. And as always, subscribe to the show to catch every new episode, and leave us a review so we can continue to bring you fresh content. And remember, yes, it is possible to have sassy and sexy money. See you next week.